What's up, adventurers? My name is Platinum Phoenix, and welcome to my new Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. A pivotal game, not only for Nintendo, but for gaming as a whole, being the first 3D Legend of Zelda game, which helped Nintendo compete during the 3D gaming revolution that took place back in the mid-90s. I would even go as far as to say that Ocarina of Time is the most influential Zelda game in the entire series, introducing many of these races, characters, and recurring elements that can be seen throughout most, if not all, of the later games. So if you've liked anything in the Legend of Zelda games in the last 20 years or so, you are very likely to find something you enjoy here too. But it isn't all about gameplay either. Ocarina of Time is what I would call the breaking point of the Legend of Zelda series, taking it from a basic adventure series to a more story-driven series, with some really heartfelt moments and great characters throughout the entire game. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and start our first adventure through Hyrule. In the vast deep forest of Hyrule, long have I served as the guardian spirit. I am known as the Deku Tree. The children of the forest, the Kokiri, live here with me. Each Kokiri has his or her own guardian fairy. However, there is one boy who does not have a fairy. Navi, Navi, where art thou? Come hither. O Navi the fairy, listen to my words, the words of the Deku Tree. Dost thou sense it? The climate of evil descending upon this realm. Malevolent forces, even now, are mustering to attack the land of Hyrule. For so long, the Kokiri Forest, the source of life, has stood as a barrier, deterring outsiders, and maintaining the order of the world. But, before this tremendous evil, even my power is as nothing. It seems the time has come for the boy without a fairy to begin his journey. The youth whose destiny it is to lead Hyrule to the path of justice and truth. Navi, go now, find our young friend, and guide him to me. I do not have much time left. Fly, Navi, fly! The fate of the forest, nay, the world depends upon thee. Hello, Link! Wake up! The Great Deku Tree wants to talk to you! Link, get up! Hey, come on! Can Hyrule's destiny really depend on such a lazy boy? You finally woke up! I'm Navi, the fairy! The Great Deku Tree asked me to be your partner from now on. Nice to meet you. The Great Deku Tree has summoned you, so let's get going, right now! Step 1 of our great adventure, get out of bed. Step 2 in our great adventure, leave the house. And say hello to the Kokiri Forest. And it's amazing music. Yahoo! Hi, Link! So we could climb down this ladder like a regular person, or we could come over here and backflip off of our house. The most metal way to get up in the morning. Wow, a fairy! Finally, a fairy came to you, Link. Wow, that's great news. I'm so happy for you. Now you're a true Kokiri, Link. Is that right? The Great Deku Tree has summoned you. It's quite an honor to go talk to the Great Deku Tree. I'll wait here. Get going. Go see the Great Deku Tree. Alright, we'll get going to do that. But I do have to mention, I really like that intro cutscene of Navi flying in through the forest. It gives a really good sense of scale of the forest itself. Plus, it's a pretty neat introduction to what is essentially your home in this game. Not to mention, it does suddenly point us to where we need to go, which is directly this way into this blockade. You, Mr. No Fairy, what's your business with the Great Deku Tree? Without a fairy, you're not even a real man. What? You've got a fairy? Say what? The Great Deku Tree actually summoned you? What? Why would he summon you and not the Great Mido? This isn't funny. I don't believe it. You aren't even fully equipped yet. How do you think you're gonna help the Great Deku Tree without both a sword and a shield ready? What? You're right, I don't have my equipment ready, but if you want to pass through here, you should at least equip a sword and a shield. Sheesh. Alright, fine. We'll go do that then. And to start with that endeavor, we actually want to head over here to this building. Hi, Link. Look this way. Look over here with L and talk to me with A. So, this is our introduction to one of the first of many aspects of the game that would go on to... I was going to say infect. That seems a bit harsh. Let's say impact the rest of the series. This being the targeting, or in this case, L targeting, which is just such a worse name for this. It sounds so bad. But this is such an impactful mechanic in this game that it would go on to be in every single mainline 3D Legend of Zelda game after Ocarina of Time. And it was designed as a way for the player to actually be able to interact with single objects or to target single objects in the 3D space. Basically being able to engage and to inform the player what they're engaging with in the 3D space, whether that be an enemy or in this case, a person that wants to talk to us. Yes, that's how you use a fairy. It's so great that you finally have a fairy partner. I'll teach you how to talk to people using your fairy. When the fairy flies near a person or thing, press L to look in that direction. If you use L targeting, you can talk to people from a distance, like we're doing now. When you have nothing that you can target, you can press L to look forward. Try it. Like she said, we can also turn around and just focus in one direction without actually targeting. And this just locks your camera in place without allowing your camera to follow behind you, which is actually very nice because it allows you to actually like strafe side to side, move forward, move backwards, when normally you wouldn't be able to do this. So it's actually very helpful. Also, the other thing I didn't mention is that Navi, our fairy, as she said, we're using the fairy to talk to people, and having Navi be the targeting reticle for what we are targeting is actually very nice, and it's actually a really well-designed mechanic, in my opinion. But with that being said, let's go ahead and head into this house, which is actually a shop. Welcome! We don't actually need to talk to the owner to see what he's selling, but honestly, this shop is not great. Several of the items here we can either get very easily, very soon, or we simply cannot use them right now. Like the arrows, we don't have a quiver, so we can't use them. Or the Deku seeds, we don't have any way to carry them either. and stuff like the Deku Nuts and Deku Sticks become very easy to get later. One thing I do want to point out is the recovery heart. Do not, under any circumstance, buy recovery hearts. It is a waste of rupees, and I will show you why in a little bit. Just trust me, it is not worth buying these. But the one thing we do want to look at is the Deku Shield for 40 rupees, since we do need to actually buy this, since there's no other way to get it around the forest at this point, at least. So our first objective right now is to collect 40 rupees. This shop, it sells things that you can get in the forest for free, Teehee. Do you know how to use a Deku Shield, Teehee? When you get the shield, tap the gear icon to get into the gear subscreen. On the gear subscreen, tap the shield to equip it. You can select it using the joystick and press A to equip it. Once you have it equipped, hold it up with the R button and change its angle with the joystick, Teehee. So, as I was saying, we need to collect 40 rupees, and rupees are basically the money in this game. And I believe if we go into this house, actually, we can learn a little bit more about rupees. Do you have anything to say? My sister took rupees and went shopping at the store with the red roof, Teehee. So that's the girl that was just teaching us about the shield, I guess. Speaking of rupees, a green one is worth 1, a blue one is worth 5, and a red one is worth 20, hee. Yes, so right now, I believe we are only able to find blue and green rupees as we immediately find a blue rupee. Is this going to be a green rupee? So it's thematic? Yes, it is. So right now, I believe we can only find blue and green rupees, but there's actually several other denominations of rupees. As she said, there's green, blue, and red, which are 1, 5, and 20. But there's also other ones like purple, silver, and orange, which I'm not going to say what the denominations of those are, since we can't currently get them, but just know there are more types than just the 3 she mentioned. What are you doing? That meanie Mido is making me cut the grass at Saria's house. Mido told Saria he would do it so she would like him, but I'm the one doing all the work. You and Saria are close friends, so will you help me cut the grass? I'll let you keep anything you find while cutting it. Well, currently we don't have a sword, and we are physically not strong enough to pick up the grass. We can just sit here and tug on it all day, and it'll never pull up. But as he said, this is Saria's house, so if we go inside, this is the main reason I mentioned not buying the recovery hearts. You can get 4 of them in this house, which is more than we can physically have at a time right now. And if you would somehow ever need more than 4, which I don't know how you would, you could come up here on top of her house, and there's 3 more on top of her house. She has a total of 2 1/3 total heals in her house alone. It's crazy. But next up, I want to just run across these bridges and show that we can maneuver the camera using the L button, just so we can look forward. And grab this blue rupee that's up here. And what do you have to say? Hee, you came all the way up here. You're a real man. Look, isn't the view pretty? Change your view with the eyes so you can look around the forest with the joystick. And if we do just that, we can press the eye icon on the bottom screen and get a jump scare from zooming in on her face very close. But you can actually see that it allows us to go first person and look around. The great Deku tree is over there. We can see that there's an opening up there and like a training ground over there. It's really nice to be able to go first person. But the first person mode is actually a leftover from the original concept of the game, where Ocarina of Time was originally going to be a first person shooter style game, where whenever Link ran into an enemy, instead of what we have now, where it's a 3D space and you would fight them in the 3D space, it would change to a side view to fight the enemy. So it would be almost like a side-scroller type of fight. But that idea was scrapped very early into development. But after that point, there was actually a second suggestion to make the game completely in the first-person perspective. But funnily enough, Nintendo itself was afraid that people wouldn't like the game if they couldn't see Link. So that idea was also scrapped. And what we got was the first-person toggle that we are able to use now. But next up, I want to go into this house. House of the Great Mido, boss of the Kokery. Yeah, sure, Mido. I'm pretty sure he wrote that sign himself. But inside of his house, we have 4 treasure chests, which I believe all have pretty good things in them. The first one being a blue rupee, giving us 5 rupees immediately. Second one is another blue rupee, so 10 rupees. We're already at 30 of 40 that we need. The next one is a recovery heart, bringing our total of free recovery hearts we can get without revisiting anywhere to 8. And the last one is a green rupee. So we have a total of 11 free rupees and a recovery heart in this house alone. It's pretty great. But next up, what are you doing? A by the stone, pick it up. A by the stone, pick it up. Mido, he's making me pick up rocks in front of his house. So, like you said, if we press A by the rock when it says grab, we can pick up the rocks and we can actually throw them. And they will sometimes have stuff in them, whether it be items like recovery hearts or just rupees inside of them. So what I'm going to do is actually run around and throw these rocks to see if we can get any extra rupees. And I'm going to be quiet because I want you to hear the amazing music that's in this forest. Just like how calming this music is while you're running around the forest. It's just a really nice song. Oh, a fairy finally came to you. Now you have a lot to learn. The best place to go to learn some new skills is the Forest Training Center. It's on the hill just above here. Alright, so that's where we'll head to next. This is the Forest Training Center. Don't recklessly cut signs. Read them carefully. Will do, even though I'm going to completely skip past these 2 signs in favor for this one right here. If it'll allow me to read, please. Select a target. If you see the arrow above an object, you can target it with L. In other words, you can press and hold L when you see the arrow above an object. You can lock onto it. If you release L, the lock will be released, and if the other object with an arrow above them, you can press L rapidly to cycle between the targets. You can target the stones next to this sign for practice. And like it said, the objects that you can target will be shown not only with Navi floating green around them, but also with the giant green arrow. And you can see if we hold down L, we will target it. And the sign also said we could switch target just by mashing L. And I really like how this looks. Look at Link. He's like, instead of just turning his head slightly to look between the two, he has to move his entire body. And it's just so funny to me every time I see that. But what do you have to say? Hey, let's work on some moves. To jump sideways while while L targeting, press A to move left or right. To do a backflip while L targeting, press A as you move backward. To do a roll attack while L targeting, press A as you move forwards while you roll. You can avoid damage. If you have your sword ready while L targeting, you can do a jump attack by pressing A. A jump attack does double damage. You can use L targeting on the stone next to me, so let's practice. Alright, and like he said, if we target the stone, we can strafe side to side, which is something he doesn't mention, and we can even move backwards. But as he said, if we press the A button while we are moving side to side, we will do a jump. And it's really nice that we're able to do that even without a sword or shield, because it gives us options of traversal around enemies that we don't currently have any enemies to fight right now, but it's really nice to be able to. He also said we could do backflips, which is really nice. Also, we got a blue and a green rupee for doing that. And we can also roll towards the enemy, which we are able to roll normally, but being able to roll towards enemies is a really good way to clear distance and to be able to hit an enemy once they are done attacking. Hole of L. I think you need a better name, my guy. Let's go through this small hole. Stand in front of the hole and push the joystick towards it. When the action icon shows enter, press A to crawl into the hole. Pay attention to what the action icon says. All right, like it says, out here it's usually attack or nothing, but if we run into the hole, it'll eventually turn to enter, and then we can crawl through. At the speed of a snail, he crawls so slowly in this game. It's agonizing. And the reason this place is called the Hole of Z is actually on this sign. Viewpoint with L targeting. When you have no object to look at, you can just look forward with L. Stop moving and then change the direction you are facing, or hold down L for a little while. This can help you get orientated in the direction you want to face. It's quite convenient. If you hold down L, you can walk sideways while facing straight ahead. Walking sideways can be a very important technique in dungeon corridors. Turn around and try doing this right now. So this is very similar to what the girl on top of the store was saying. If you don't have a target, you can just hold down L and it'll block your camera forward. And as you can see, there is this giant boulder rolling around, which if it hits you, doesn't really do that much damage, but it is technically the first enemy in the game. For some reason, the wiki for the game names anything that can damage you as an enemy. So for some reason, that boulder is listed as an enemy. But if we get over here, there is this giant chest, which anyone who has played Zelda before knows that giant chests usually mean good things. In this case, it means Kukuri sword. Tap the gear icon in the lower screen to open the gear subscreen, and then tap the weapon to equip it. This is a hidden treasure of the Kukuri. You can borrow it for a while. Be sure to practice with it before you really fight. And like it says, if we tap on the bottom screen on the gear icon, we can pull up our gear. Right now, we only have the Kukuri tunic as well as the Kukuri sword, but if we go up to the Kukuri sword and press A, we can equip it. And then you can see on the bottom screen still that if you press B, you can pull out the sword and swing with it. Oh, I guess we are close enough to this sign to read it. Visit the house of the Know-It-All Brothers to get answers on all your item-related questions. That's, I think, what we were going to do next, actually. But something else we could do is, if we really don't like the sign, chop, chop. Get rid of all the signs. We don't need signs around here. Signs are for people who don't know what they're doing. And I very obviously know what I'm doing. If me failing to Z or to L target earlier is anything to go off of. But we can go ahead and cut the grass around here and see if we can get anything out of it. But I think what we're going to do is just go to the house of the Know-It-All Brothers next, which happens to be the last building we have not entered. And this building is very important because these guys, if you could not tell by their name, know quite a bit. I can tell you about icons on the screen. Sure, tell me about the icon on the right side of the lower screen. The 1, X, Y, and 2 icons on the lower screen are your item slots. To use an item you've found, tap the items button on the lower screen and open the item subscreen. Tap the item, and then tap the slot you want to assign. It's as easy as that. To use the item, tap 1, X, Y, or 2. Assign items that you use often to X or Y so you can use them at the press of a button. You'll find it pretty handy. Basically, X and Y are buttons that are on your DS, while the 1 and 2 buttons are buttons that you have to physically press on the bottom screen to actually use, which he doesn't do a great job of explaining that, but that's why he said use to assign the more important items to X and Y. And next up, tell me about the upper screen icon. The upper screen icon with an A on it is called an action icon. The action icon shows what the action you will perform when you press A. Check often to see what you can do. Alright, and next up, what do you have to say? Do you know how to use your eyes? I'm going to have to say yes. If you tap the eye icon, you can change your view. In a place like this, it will switch to the top-down view. Elsewhere, like in a field, It'll switch to the first-person perspective. Also, when Navi is displayed in place of I, that means Navi the fairy wants to talk to you. Use Navi to talk to her. And he also doesn't mention that the view button, or the I button, actually changes to a camera button when you're inside of the building. That's because when you press it, it becomes a third person, or like a top-down view, and not a third-person view. And that actually shows us that there's a couple of breakable pots in this building, which I'm going to want to break and try to get more rupees. Getting 2 extra rupees is actually really nice. We're already at 59. Do you want to learn about the map and items? Just ask me, but don't ask unless you want to hear a long explanation. What do you want to know about? Tell me about the map. There is a map shown at the bottom left of the upper screen. The yellow arrow shows your current position and the direction you are facing. The red marks show that where you entered the area from. Hold down to turn off the map display. To turn it back on, press the any direction. In the middle of the lower screen is the overall map of your current area. Tap the map button on the lower screen to see the map with area name. And what about items? There are 3 kinds of items: gear items, usable items, and quest items. Gear items are things like your sword, shield, and clothes that must be equipped to use. Usable items can be set to 1, X, Y, or 2. They are used by tapping the assigned button or icon. Quest items are things you collect during your adventure. You don't need to use them. Just carry them around. If you want to change gear, tap the gear button on the lower screen and open the gear subscreen. To equip an item or of gear, simply tap it. To assign items to your item slots, tap the item button to open the item subscreen. Tap the item you want to assign by then tap 1, X, Y, or 2 and set it to the item slot. That was a pretty long explanation. Did you understand everything? Yes, we did. Now that we are out of the Know-It-All Brothers house, I actually want to go over here and read these 2 signs that we skipped over earlier. And the reason I want to read both of them is because they both have to relate to the sword, so I didn't want to read them then when we didn't have it. Cut grass with your sword. If you swing your sword with B, you will cut horizontally. If you hold L as you swing, you will cut vertically. And what it doesn't tell you is when you pull it out, you will basically always cut horizontally. But if you're pushing forward as you are cutting, you will cut vertically, even if you aren't holding down the L button. And we can also slice apart this sign, because who needs that sign anyway? Thrust attack signs. To thrust with your sword, press the joystick towards your target while while L targeting. Then press B. So if we target this sign and press forward towards it and attack, we will actually thrust into it. And you can do this without any target, actually. But if we do it to that sign specifically, we'll get a blue rupee out of it. And this sign, the one that tells us not to recklessly cut signs when these signs tell you to recklessly cut them, I'm gonna cut you down. Oh, apparently we can't cut this down. What is this sign made out of? This is the strongest sign known to man. Made of the hardest wood known to man to not be cut by a sword. But I guess we can't get anything out of that sign. And I kind of skipped over it earlier because we were listening to the music. But if we go into these flower beds, we can actually pick up rupees from the flowers, or from the tall grass / clovers. You can usually get 2 or 3 rupees out of each of them. And next up, I want to go over jumping, because we actually don't have a jump button. Jumping is done automatically whenever you run across a surface where jumping would normally happen. And the same is mostly true for climbing. If you run into a wall that you can climb, and all you had to do is push your joystick into the direction of the wall to climb it. But for jumping, you can also roll into the jump, and you'll actually get more distance out of the jump. And for doing these jumps, game, please, please work. Okay, well, you're supposed to get a blue rupee for jumping across those stones, but I guess it doesn't want to give me my blue rupee. Stepping stones in the pond. If you boldly go in the direction you want to jump, you will leap automatically. If you hop around the stones, you'll become happier. That sign's supposed to tell you that, well, one, how to jump across the stones, but if you jump across them, you get the blue rupee. But I guess if you have too many rupees, then it just doesn't give it to you? That's really weird. I didn't naturally know that. But we have more than enough rupees. We have 70 right now. So let's go ahead and buy our shield. You got the Deku Shield. Switch to the gear subscreen and tap the shield to equip it. Or select it with the joystick and A to equip it. Press R to crouch and defend. If you press R while L targeting, you can move while defending. Do you want to buy something else? No, I do not. But I do want to go into our gear icon, or gear subscreen, and equip our shield. Now, if we hold down our button, there we go, we can shield. And as you can see, you can move around, or you can move the shield around while shielding. But if you hold down L, you can move while shielding, which this is very useful for when you're when you're L targeting an enemy, to be able to move around them and have your shield up still. But with that, we have both our sword and our shield. So, Mido, you gotta let us through now. If you want to see the Great Deku Tree, you should at least equip a sword and a shield. What's that? Oh, is that a Deku shield? And what's that? Is that a Kokiri sword? Good grief. Well, even if you have all that stuff, a wimp is still a wimp, huh? I, the Great Mido, will never accept you as one of us. Shoot, how did you get to be the favorite of Saria and the Great Deku Tree, huh? Grumble, grumble. I love how he just stomps off. He's so angry that we have a sword and a shield. But now that he's out of the way, we can head over this way towards the Great Deku Tree and almost immediately get stopped by enemies. These are Deku Babas, but if we target them and actually press the Navi icon, Deku Babas, it looks withered. It will hurt you if you touch it. These Deku Babas are almost completely harmless to you because they can't really attack, since, like Navi just told us, they are withered. But if you defeat them, you can get a Deku Stick. Tap the item button on the lower screen to open the item subscreen. Set it to the I, or set it to 1, X, Y, or 2. Swing it using 1, X, Y, or 2. When you want to put away, stand still and press the A button. You can only carry a certain amount, so don't waste them. And I think what I want to do is actually go around and cut these 3 down so we can get 3 of these before going into my item subscreen and showing we can just select them. And I think I want to put them on Y for right now, for no real reason except just to show if we press Y, we can pull out the stick. But the Great Deku Tree is right there, so let's go ahead and go talk to him. Hey, Deku Tree, I'm back!
O Navi, thou hast returned. O Link, welcome. Listen carefully to what I, the Great Deku Tree, am about to tell thee. Thy slumber these past moons must have been restless and full of nightmares. As the servants of evil gain strength, a vile climate pervades the land and causes nightmares to those sensitive to it. Verily thou hast felt it. Link, the time has come to test thy courage. I have been cursed. I need thee to break the curse with thy wisdom and courage. Dost thou have courage enough to undertake this task? Then enter, brave Link, and thou too, Navi. Navi the fairy, thou must aid Link. And Link, when Navi speaks, use the Navi button to listen well to her words of wisdom.
Alright, and with the Great Deku Tree telling us to go inside of him, I feel like there has to be a better way to say that. But with the Great Deku Tree telling us to go inside of him, I think we're going to end this first episode here. So I hope that everyone enjoyed watching. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Next time, we go and try inside the Great Deku Tree to try to get rid of his curse. But until then, happy adventuring!